Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as it's going to be really quite chilly, especially the next few days, and as we head into next week, some could consider it quite cold in fact, especially in the north. We'll be seeing widespread frosts and potential for even some snowfall over some higher routes in Scotland and northern England. And this is all due to initially an easterly wind that we're seeing at the moment, and eventually a quite potent northerly wind through Sunday to around Wednesday, through the end of this week into the start of next week. As we'll see in the GFS, GEM, Eastern WF and the ensembles, we're able to see pretty much the whole of next week now, and it is going to start off cold with that northerly flow. But one thing that is on the cards for later next week is once that northerly wind does get cut off by a higher pressure trying to topple back in, we could actually see winds revert to more of a southerly wind or southwesterly wind, which will drag up warmer air. So it's not off the cards that next week many areas will be stuck in the mid to high single digits during the day with cloud, rain and some snow in the north, and by the end of the week we could be seeing 20 degrees through many parts of England and Wales. That is a real possibility next week. And it just shows you the huge variation that we can see this time of year. So yeah, next week you'll be starting off with your coats, hats and gloves, and end the week with t-shirts and shorts. But of course, we'll see what the latest runs are showing today. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So to start on the live radar, you can see at the moment it is pretty much bone dry for most areas, quite a bit of sunshine around, a lack of cloud in many areas in the north and west. However, in the east at the moment, drifting into parts of East Anglia and Kent, really only coastal areas at the moment, but it'll push further inland. We've got some very heavy rain, and now this is the initial bands moving in for this upper trough, which is sitting over parts of France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Luxembourg, and it is giving some widespread heavy showers and some frontal rainfall in places, and that will just continue to move in over the coming hours. The heaviest rain really won't arrive until overnight, and some heavier showers will move in through tomorrow afternoon as well. But we'll see thicker cloud building in through the rest of the afternoon and some outbreaks of rain in the east. And of course, under the cloud and rain, it will drop those temperatures quite substantially. So if we do see that rain linger tomorrow, it's likely temperatures won't get much above 7 or 8 degrees. We'll see a bit of sunshine though, maybe 12, 13, 14. Still cool, but nowhere near as cold as under that cloud and rain. And that's going to make all the difference over the next 5 days or so. Cloud and rain will really keep those temperatures to sort of winter averages, whereas with the sunshine it will allow those temperatures to really be average to slightly below average, just because of the strength of the sunshine this time of the year. Now, if you do put on the 2 metre temperatures as of around 2 p.m, you can see how across Germany, Belgium, northern France and Luxembourg, there's quite a lot of cold air there at the surface. Blue is indicating temperatures in the mid to high single digits, and I said that's all because of the cloud and the rain halting any warmth developing at the surface. Again, the upper air temperatures are cool. They're not ridiculously cold, but they're a good few degrees below average, and so combined with the cloud and precipitation just keeps those temperatures really quite cold. Any yellows appearing here, temperatures more towards the low teens, that's where we see a bit of sunshine coming through. And you can see at the moment, mostly the British Isles is in the yellows at the moment, so indicating most areas seeing some sunshine, even though the upper air temperatures aren't too warm. You can see across the east coast, though, it is turning cooler, and increasingly those blues will spread in, and through tomorrow we could see quite widespread blues in many areas of England, Wales, as that rain cloud just persists with that upper trough. So if you do now have a look at the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see that rain heading in the east at the moment. Initially nothing too huge, but you could see some moderate to heavier pulses through the evening, but just generally thicker cloud pushing in. However, frontal rainfall really arrived through the early hours of the morning, quite heavy rain in places through England, Wales, and perhaps into parts of the Republic of Ireland as well through the afternoon, some showers breaking out there. As I said, mostly England, Wales, heavier rain under the thicker cloud and showers and areas of precipitation in general. It will be cold. Through the rest of the afternoon to the evening, that upper trough will persist, and the low does form out into the North Sea, so we could see these rain bands increase in strength and in widespread nature and eventually we will veer into a northerly wind by Sunday into Monday, seeing snow in Scotland and just widespread colder conditions prevailing through early next week, and could even see some winteriness to high roots in Wales and northern England too. Really, really chilly for the time of year. And that will continue to progress, as I said, later in the week, but we will see slightly milder air wafting up from the southwest, perhaps arriving around Wednesday or Thursday, giving some rain initially, but before it should turn us drier and a bit warmer to end the week. As I said, could be in shorts and t-shirts by the weekend. Now, to put on the upper air temperatures, you can see a cold pool is moving in over the course of today, especially for England and Wales. Really, the coolest air arrives this evening overnight hours when the upper trough properly arrives, and it will continue to give cold conditions in the south. Beyond that, as we head into the weekend, the upper air temperatures do warm up a little bit, but the low pressure system is developing, so we'll continue the showers and areas of cloud, and eventually that cold air will properly arrive from the north, from a polar plunge arriving. Some really cold air for the time of year. Minus 10 degrees at 850 HPA across Scotland, a good 10 to 15 degrees below average in some areas. Really, really cold. And on the latest UKV, the cold air does reach the far south coast. Again, not the coldest weather that really lingers in northern areas, but still really quite cold air, cold enough to give frost and temperatures not getting above 8 or 9 degrees, so really quite chilly by early next week. Again, if we put on the max temperatures, you can see through the rest of today, temperatures will be cool along that east coast, 8 or 9 degrees peaking at 3 p.m, 15, 16 further westwards, and again, all to do with the cloud and sunshine amounts. Again, the air mass here is very, very similar. As we head through Thursday night into Friday, could be a frost in a few places in the north and west with clearer skies, and by Friday afternoon, again, wherever we've got cloud and rain through southern and southwest England, through northern and northeast England, temperatures not getting into the double digits, where we do have a bit less cloud and rain, a bit of sunshine, western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and maybe a few isolated patches through the Midlands and East Anglia, could see 13, 14 degrees or slightly higher in those northern and western routes. So again, just showing you very, very regional conditions. So you may wake up tomorrow and see what is all the fuss about colder, drab, miserable conditions, and it's because it's only 50 miles away from you with that cloud and rain. It is going to be very regional based. So it's all going to be keeping an eye on the live radar, and again, even just small cloud amounts will give a couple degrees deviation to these temperatures. Through the evening, though, most areas that see clear skies will see temperatures drop away, perhaps to mid to low single digits, maybe even touching on frost in some areas. Through the rest of Saturday, because we do see that cloud thinning through parts of England and Wales, temperatures do rise more widely, maybe 12 to 15 degrees. But once again, you can see those pockets where the colder air does linger at the surface across Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Northern England, Southern Scotland, and even parts of Wales and South West England, maybe 8 or 9 degrees where we have cloud, rain, and generally, as said, colder conditions. Beyond that, for Sunday, quite cold overnight initially, and into the day and the afternoon, not rising all too much, and this is because the cold air mass has really started to come into play, sort of counteracting any sunshine, and you can see really not getting much above 12 or 13 degrees, which is sort of average to below average for many areas, and sort of London, where the average toward the end of April, sort of 15, 16 degrees. It's a good few degrees below average, feeling pretty chilly, but nothing compared to what's coming into Monday, where overnight temperatures will be widely below freezing in the north, and into the afternoon, many areas struggling to get much above sort of 6 to 8 degrees. Perhaps again, the far south could get 10 to 13 max, but again, that will very much depend on cloud amounts and exact air mass extents. But across parts of Wales, we've got some heavier precipitation moving in, temperatures the mid to low single digits, similar across Northern England and Scotland. Really, really cold conditions, and you can see into the early hours of Tuesday, widespread frost for Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and most of Northern England, lingering into the Midlands as well. Areas southwards and eastwards, perhaps slightly too mild in terms of upper air temperatures, and a bit more cloud aiding that. But again, very small deviations in the air mass and cloud amounts will easily drop those areas towards freezing. So almost an up and down the country frost there. Again, we'll just have to keep an eye on for central southern England there, whether we do see that frost start to develop. But again, it's 120 hours, so it is quite far away. So if we do now have a look at the longer range, see if we do have a bit of a warm-up coming perhaps towards the end of next week, as it is going to be really quite chilly for the start of the week. Again, you can see the easterly wind coming in at the moment with the upper trough, and that develops into a larger low pressure system, and we see northerly winds for Monday, Tuesday, likely into Wednesday too. Eventually, a south to southwesterly flow breaks in, initially perhaps with lower pressure, but high pressure builds in towards the weekend, firmly over the top of us. And for Saturday, Sunday, could see 20 degrees, as I said, with this sort of conditions. There is pretty good consensus now that there will be warmer air masses coming in by the end of next week into the weekend, but whether it will be bone dry or not, which will decide whether it's sort of a pleasant warmer conditions, we will have to see. Definitely GFS suggesting high pressure dominating here. Eventually that high pressure sort of sits over the top of us, but we see another retrogression move of higher pressure. We see another northerly flow towards the first week of May. So it's not like we're done with the cold weather. We will see perhaps more cold weather from this latest GFS run, but it's going to be very much up and down, oscillating between air masses. Now, if you do put on the 850 HPA temperature, you can see the -5 isotherm in for all areas, maybe the -10 in for parts of Scotland. Now, beyond that, again, you can see the high pressure built in towards next weekend, and the +10 degree isotherm moves in, which would give 20 degrees, and that starts May. So it starts May on quite a warm note, for eventually shifting colder air masses back in for the 6th of May into the next weekend. So yeah, not looking like we're going to be seeing any sort of consistent conditions here. Really up and down. Now, if you put on the 2 meter temperatures, I do want to have just look at this, for example, just have a look at this, for example, of what we could be seeing. Now, you can see early this week, really quite cold, especially through Monday. Look at that, mid-single digits, low single digits in many areas through Monday evening. But as we head towards the weekend, get towards especially Sunday, look at that, widespread high teens, maybe even touching 20 degrees there. So, again, could go from hats and gloves and coats to t-shirt and shorts by Sunday. Again, not a huge change in absolute temperatures, perhaps a 10+ degree change, but it's really that feel-like temperature. With the northerly wind, it will feel colder than sort of 8 or 9 degrees, and with a southerly flow with the strong sunshine, it will feel a lot warmer than 18 or 19 here. So it could be more like a 15 to 20 degree feel-like swing in those temperatures next week. And as I said, there is pretty good consensus for this. This is not a stab in the dark. There is pretty good consensus that the week will start very cold, but we're pretty sure of that, and could end the week pretty warm, at least a good 5 degrees potentially above average. So if you look at the GM now, again, easterly flow coming in at the moment, pretty chilly, unsettled conditions prevailing, northerly wind moves in, and eventually the high pressure topples, and sort of gives us a southerly flow. Perhaps slightly unsettled, though, into the weekend before the high pressure builds in. So as I said, there is uncertainty whether it's a more unsettled, warmer pattern or more of a settled, warmer pattern here. Initially unsettled, before it does turn settled towards Sunday into the last day of April. And you see the air masses do respond, getting up towards 5 degrees at 850 HPA. But again, I must emphasise, though, I won't give anything as warm as the GFS, but maybe 16 or 17, so average to slightly above average by the weekend. Still perhaps t-shirts and shorts weather for certain people out there. So even though it isn't quite as warm as the GFS, it is still a lot warmer than the start of the week and generally above average. Again, if we look at the ECMWF, again, an easterly flow coming in the moment, pretty chilly and unsettled, northerly wind coming in for early next week, really cold for a good few days before eventually a southerly flow prevails, and into the weekend, high pressure builds in. Again, complex system here, perhaps not quite as mild as the GFS or even GM there, with slightly chillier conditions prevailing along northern and eastern coasts, but regardless, it would be drier and it would be slightly warmer at least. Again, you can see that if we have a look at the 2 meter temperatures by sort of Saturday afternoon, you can see in the south getting up towards 16, 17 degrees, perhaps northern areas still lingering onto that colder air. So you can see all 3 runs do have a warm up into the weekend. At least for the south, this looks likely to be seeing warmer conditions enough again to be above average, maybe t-shirt and shorts weather, but for northern areas still a bit of uncertainty whether we do see that warm air mass move in and whether it is, as I said, a settled warmer spell. So do now have a look at the ensemble. As you see, it's really quite well reflected on the latest 6 o'clock GFS run. Again, you can see cold over the next week or so, all the way probably until maybe next Wednesday. Temperatures are average to below average. The upper air temperatures in the next sort of 3 or 4 days, where we're just getting a chilly easterly, as I said, are going to be a couple of degrees below average, but it's not really until sort of Monday, Tuesday time we see that proper northerly wind prevailing for a good sort of 72 hours there, with upper air temperatures peaking at -5 degrees at 850 HPA. Potentially colder from some runs, potentially slightly milder. Again, we'll have to just see nearer the time. Again, pretty unsettled as well, all the way perhaps to the end of April. So yes, could be turning warmer, but still an unsettled sign. And as I said, into the next weekend, you can see it actually goes above average, a good couple of degrees above average by the last couple of days of April into the start of May. Again, GFS operational run there is a good few degrees above the majority of runs, but nevertheless, it's still generally pretty mild and a good sort of 5 or good almost 10 degrees above the upper air temperatures from early this upcoming week. So yeah, a warm up coming, so starting the week cold, ending the week quite warm, and hopefully turning a bit drier. But again, there is still some quite big precipitation spikes there that we'll have to see what happens to those. Again, the dew point will reflect this. Again, very cold early next week before rising once again to maybe +10. So again, a 10 to 15 degree temperature rise in the dew points. And again, the 2-meter temperatures the next few days struggling around that 12 or 13 degree mark. And again, cold with cloud and rain early next week, only 8 or 9 degrees for a few days. And then responding by next weekend to maybe up towards the high teens or even 20 degrees. And finally, if we just have a look at the ECMWF, again, there is a good consensus here as well. Cool over the next sort of 3 or 4 days, slightly below average by a degree or two, and again, much colder than average under cloud and rain. And then up early next week, the upper air temperatures are good 5 to 10 degrees below average before responding by next weekend to slightly above average, lower precipitation, but not completely eliminated. So could, as I said, go warmer, but we're unsure whether it will be a very dry sort of pattern. Do just have a look at Glasgow as well. Again, you can see a very strong consensus here for it to go even colder early next week. Very, very cold, but not quite as cold as southern areas are right now, because that easterly flow is a little bit more cut off in the north because we're towards the centre of the high. But you can see as we head towards next weekend, it actually goes more unsettled for the north. As that higher pressure system moves in, it will move all the low pressure systems northwards up towards Scotland, giving more rain there, and there is a more uncertainty in those upper air temperatures where they are more around average towards the last few days of April. So it's not likely to be cold next week for all, at least the first sort of 3 or 4 days, lingering more in the north. But by the end of the week, the north could just be about recovering in terms of upper air temperatures, still perhaps slightly unsettled, whereas the south could be going from very cold to pretty mild or if not warm by next weekend into the last few days of April. So we'll have to see what happens, but definitely going to be some big swings in temperatures and overall feel-like conditions. Again, as I said again, we could see 20 degree feel-like temperature swings over the coming days. So it is going to be very much dependent on what it looks like outside. Again, I must emphasise this, over the next at least 5 days, maybe 5 to 7 days. If it is cloudy out there, it's a bit of rain, it's going to be cold. If there's sunshine out there, it will probably feel pretty nice in the sun, but as soon as you get a bit of shade, a bit of cloud, as I said, a bit of wind, it will feel cold. So the next sort of week will be chilly, but beyond that, hopefully, a little bit of a warm-up. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay wrapped up, warm over the next few days. Again, hopefully we will be done with any sort of cold weather very soon. But it keeps on coming back. But as I said, we'll have to see. So as I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you again for another video soon.